Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 0 of the Asclepius podcast, where we talk all things medicine and science with your host, Timothy Joo. Now, this episode will serve as a guide for listeners on what to expect from the podcast. We will be covering topics ranging from the ever-elusive purpose of this project, a background on its host, and ultimately some bit of hopeful reciprocity. Please don't forget to like, comment, rate, subscribe, and share, and all that good stuff. It really helps the algorithm and will get the information out quicker. Regardless, hope you all enjoy. Oh, hi there. So before we start today's episode, let's go over our sponsor, us. Now, if you are dying to part with your hard-earned cash, then feel free to support us on patreon.com/the Asclepius podcast. That's TheAsclepius podcast. Perks include being able to ask questions to future guests, suggesting future guests, getting cool original merchandise, and so much more. Hopefully, this is the first season, so we don't know how it's all going to play out, but either way. And once again, visit our patreon.com/the Asclepius podcast, or visit us at asclepiuspodcast.wixsite.com/home. Eventually, we'll try to get our own domain too. Anyway, look forward to seeing you soon. Are you extremely gifted? Do you have complete mastery over the arts? Well, my friends, if you are literally Leonardo da Vinci, DiCaprio, reincarnated, I would highly encourage you to participate in the seasonal Asclepius Podcast Art Challenge, where we have but the most able of artistic maestros submit their rendition of the Rod of Asclepius. Those that happen to edge out their competition will have their art not only used as our logo for the season, but will also have their art used as merchandise, with all the proceeds of that merchandise donated to Children's Hospital. How altruistic of you. If you are interested in showcasing your amazing talents or just helping out Children's Hospital or the podcast, then feel free to submit your art at our website at asclepiuspodcast.wixsite.com/home. Anyway, let's get back to the episode. Some of our old-time listeners might be a little confused with the random disappearance of the previously recorded and released episodes, 30 of them in total, and I aim to address that in this episode as well. Let me just start off by stating the first law of podcast dynamics, though. Episodes can be created and destroyed, but most likely they're just going to be re-edited so I can get my time back. Anyway, I'll get into that later, but let's first talk about the purpose of this project. And boy, oh boy, did it take me a long time to figure it out. Essentially, this podcast aims to contribute to open discourse amongst healthcare, science, students, and the general populace. We'll try and learn from those that have met the filter, such as physicians, professors, researchers, and healthcare workers, asking them important questions not only on the science, but also the complex aspects of their lives and pursuits. In addition, it will not shy away from asking those that are currently in the process of meeting those various filters, whether they be students, undergraduate researchers, aspiring healthcare workers, and fellow colleagues. Now, to clarify, when I talk about science, I will try to reduce abstract concepts into more tangible ideas. And when it comes to patients, yes, we will have some people who have had experiences with doctors on and see what really impacted their lives and how they decided to go about this whole process. Maybe people who are trying to pursue these fields can learn something from the people that they're trying to help. One thing that I would like to make apparent in every episode is that any action towards one's health, prompted by information from this podcast, should definitely be preceded by a talk with your own personal physician. Don't make a dum-dum with a rule of thumb. Within the interim or time between guests, given the fact that there will undoubtedly be periods of drought, we will have filler episodes of cool medical news, scientific research, anecdotal experiences, and other tangents, which will be denoted with a special episode title. Now, let's finally address the previously deleted episodes. I'll just start off by saying it's sort of a complicated little thing. I had initially released the 30 episodes as a mock trial, gauging the strengths and weaknesses of the format and constraints that we applied to the project. Although the reception of the podcast was rather pleasant, shout out to my mother and my girlfriend, although I somewhat doubt the latter even listened to a full episode, I had personally felt like we could do better. The original schedule consisted of recording at least once a week, uploading every other week. I was spending a rough estimate of 7 hours per episode recording, editing, rendering, and then uploading. This hectic pace, at least for myself, not only seemed unsustainable given my other projects and obligations, but it also greatly depreciated the quality of the content that I could provide. It felt rather superficial and lacking, especially for those looking for cerebral exercise. So, in the spirit of learning, I've decided to implement some changes. First, I chose to avoid unedited formats and decided to add post-commentary for elaboration, reflection, and just to dumb down things a bit. We have a lot of crazy smart people on the podcast, and sometimes the floof goes over heads. Although this is more work, I honestly just love writing and reading research and just learning. In addition, I've decided to upload at the same pace until certain things change, and this will be discussed later in the reciprocity portion of this episode, but for now, we're finally getting to the good part. Let's talk about me, your host. I'll try and keep this rather brief. It all started at the tender age of 2 when I saw a little goat in the eye of the whisper. Alright, let's get to the chase. Hello everyone, my name is Tim. I'm an avid learner and a hopeless romantic for the locomotion of information, wisdom, and for medicine. I acknowledge that I'm pretty naive, and it's rather audacious of me to think that this project of mine can somewhat contribute to a more collaborative, less competitive, and politically driven pursuit of science and medicine. But hey, I could spend all day complaining about it, or I could spend all day complaining about it on a podcast. Of course, the problems presented on the show are multifaceted and complex. However, I believe that some open communication from our leaders and colleagues might just be a good start. I don't know, just sounds a little good to me. Now, to credit myself, I am but a humble biochemistry graduate with an associate's degree in Google searching. I scored a 515 on the MCATs, roughly a 91st percentile, although some sources do state a 92nd. And I finished my degree as a junior with a 3.65 GPA. Hopefully me being open about my metrics is not misconstrued. I'm neither proud of my metrics nor am I disappointed in my metrics. I don't really care about metrics. I just feel like it would be philosophically painful for me to deal with myself if I couldn't participate in this open discourse I've been preaching about. Metrics are metrics, people. They matter up until a certain point, and then who cares? Let's round out ourselves as people. The last thing about me that we will go over today will be in reference to my hosting abilities. For the most part, I appreciate engaging my guests without a script because at the expense of information-saturated content in this level of sophistication, I believe that genuine connectivity and realness is like way more important. Now, I come to you with this podcast as its editor and host in hopes that somewhere within the deep interstices of your complex mind, somewhere within all that neuronal hardware, you're able to proliferate these wholesome ideas, interactions, and advice like a petri dish for culture. And although it may be hard to learn something from me, no offense taken, I believe that our guests will be more than capable of making up for my rather superficial insights. Finally, for reciprocity. I've essentially gone over what the podcast will hopefully do for you, but now it's time to go over what you can do for this podcast. First, it'd be much appreciated if we could rate, like, comment, subscribe, share, and all of that. Although I generally try to avoid saturating aspects of my life with these so-called side hustles, a term that really just seems like a never-ending pursuit of reducing the values of passion projects to unidimensional aspects such as money. This one definitely falls under a logistical necessity. To justifiably sustain this project, I hope to eventually develop a small team to help me edit, research, and find guests for this podcast, and that most definitely will not come without some expenditures. That being said, I will not grovel, nor will I ask for charity. Should the material warrant a like and sharing, then please feel free to do so. If not, then fine. You meanie. Speaking of not asking for charity, the final ask for reciprocity will be a constant reminder to donate to charity, and specifically your local children's hospital charity. As a person that has volunteered and spent a decent amount of time at Children's Hospital, not only around the patients, but also the staff, I would definitely say that your donation will be going to a great cause. I hope you all enjoy and get ready for the first episode of the Asclepius podcast, where we will be talking to Dr. Carolyn Luger, not only an amazing scientist, researcher, teacher in person, but also someone that happened to be one of my professors for one of my favorite courses taken so far. Regardless, thank you all for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Peace.